Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. It is digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, the live stream where I take you all through some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. Wherever you're watching today, whether it is on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to leave a comment, say how you're doing today, how is your Wednesday going? Are you staying warm? That is what I want to know. But welcome, everyone. Now, I believe it is that time we start things off. And we are going to start things off in Gurley, where a person is injured after being attacked by a dog today. Now, Don Webster with Himsey says the incident happened on Little Cove Road. The victim was flown to the hospital for treatment, where they remain in critical condition. This is all the information we have on the incident at this time, but we'll continue to update you as soon as we learn more. But now, let's take a look at the latest weather forecast from 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis. How's it looking, Brad?
Cold afternoon. Some of you yet to get above freezing, and you'll stay below freezing overnight tonight. In fact, the morning lows are going to be in the upper teens and low 20s still through Friday morning, but we do finally get into the 40s tomorrow afternoon. Not much out there as far as the radar goes, so let's get to the shoals right now. Looking good, lots of sunshine, very dry. Finally made it above freezing. It's 34 degrees. Area temperatures all right at or just above freezing, and we'll continue to watch these fall quickly as the sun sets again tonight. Here's your 7-day forecast. How about 42 tomorrow? That looks good, but Friday, the clouds roll back in. We've taken the chance of any flurries out. It just looks really dry. 38 for the high Friday, and some of you may not get that warm. We're looking at Saturday. Looking forward to that. 50, 46 with rain likely Sunday. 50 on Monday with showers likely there too, but consistently more 50-degree weather headed our way as we head into next week. Back to you, AJ.
Well, thank you, Brad. And now turning over to Nashville, Tennessee, where a school shooting occurred today that's left at least 2 dead, including the suspect. Authorities say the shooting happened at Antioch High School's cafeteria this morning. Officials say the suspect, who's a student at the school, shot themselves in the incident. Authorities are continuing to investigate. But in Huntsville, 2 people accused of a shooting that occurred on January 16th at a hotel in Huntsville have been arrested. Yesterday, the Huntsville Police Department was asking for the public's help identifying 2 potential suspects connected to a shooting at the Best Western Hotel on University Drive. Police told 48 today that 29-year-old Omari Foster Jr. and 30-year-old Arjani Clifton were arrested in connection to the incident. Authorities say when officers arrived at the scene, they found an adult male suffering from a gunshot wound. Following a preliminary investigation, police determined the victim and suspect were involved in an alleged argument. During the altercation, police say the suspect then pulled out a firearm and shot the victim. The victim was transported to the hospital and still remains in critical condition. Both Foster and Clifton were booked into the Madison County Jail. They were both charged with aggravated assault, attempted murder, and robbery. They are both being held without bond. But now a story, in case you missed it. A North Alabama man was charged in Lauderdale County after investigators say he took $15,000 to build a couple a new home that he never finished. 48's Aria Pons has the story.
Lauderdale County investigators say Nathan Haygood is charged with theft of property after he took $15,000 from a couple in Rogersville just to turn around and not finish that project. Sergeant Dylan Hogue says this isn't the first time either. Hogue says that Haygood has a history of making deals, taking people's money, then not finishing out the work. He says there are cases going back to 2012 against him. Hogue has investigated many cases like this one, and he says he tried to give suspects a chance to make it right before any arrests are made.
I give you several opportunities to make the right decision, to at least do the work or give the money back, so that way we can just call it good. But if you just don't do anything and you kind of procrastinate and you keep on going, I'd say at the most month and a half is what I give him usually.
Hogue says the couple who hired Haygood paid him a huge deposit and then didn't hear from him for months. Hogue says Haygood has pleaded guilty to theft in the past. Karen Reeves with the Better Business Bureau of North Alabama says situations like this are just so tragic. She says there are a few ways that people looking to hire a contractor can protect themselves.
We always share with folks, it always pays to do your homework.
Reeves says you can check the contractor's licenses through the Home Builders Licensure Board, see reviews on the BBB's website, or even ask for references from past clients. Hogue says it's worth doing your research.
It is something that kind of flies on our radar consistently. Again, they're not that hard to work considering that we already know who the suspect is, but they happen pretty frequently around here.
In Lauderdale County, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
Thank you, Aria. Now a story 48's Nick Ballinger reported on last night. Yesterday, the Huntsville Zoning Board voted unanimously to deny a sober living facilities application to move into a South Huntsville neighborhood. The building on Bailey Cove Road is now a space for groups to host retreats. But because it's not getting much use, the owner turned to a sober living organization. Leaders from Bradford Health Services stressed that this was not a medical facility and no rehab services would be provided. But after residents shared this would just add unnecessary risk to their neighborhood, the board took it to a vote, and not a single board member brought forward a motion to approve.
Structure, because they don't do the life skills, they don't do the stuff that we do to prepare individuals. So we transition to there.
It's been brought up that people opt out of these programs. What happens to them? Where do they go? Do they go far? We don't know. And it's just putting kids in a dangerous position that I don't see a need for.
And with President Trump now in office, Alabama officials are feeling very optimistic when it comes to the relocation of Space Command from Colorado Springs to Huntsville. They say it will get done by the first 100 days Trump is in office. 48 Sarah Grace Kennedy earlier today spoke with Congressman Dale Strong. He says Space Command would bring over 1,000 jobs to Huntsville and bring in a lot of money to the area, as Space Command in Colorado currently employs over 17,000 people.
Donald Trump's going to do what's right rather than trying to get another vote like we watched in this previous administration. And I'm ready to start looking to the future rather than to the past.
And now in national news, the Trump administration is ordering all federal employees in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles placed on paid leave by this evening. Joseph Almo is in Washington, D.C. with the details.
DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the federal workplace is ending as we know it. President Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, telling NBC News in a statement, quote, President Trump campaigned on a merit-based society where people are hired based on their skills, not for the color of their skin. So what do people think about this latest move? We walked around D.C. today to hear him out.
That is crazy. I wasn't shocked, but I was shocked.
Very interesting. I'll leave it at that.
You're getting busy already.
You're just not going to get the host of talent that you're aiming for. I think you can have both a meritocracy in federal employment hiring, but you also should seek out a diverse pool of talent because it really invigorates the opinions, the diversity of thought.
So this is the memo getting a lot of attention, sent from the U.S. Office of Personnel Management to all of the heads of federal departments and agencies, and it orders a few things. Number one, by 5 p.m. tonight, a letter must be sent to employees in DEI roles, informing them that they will be placed on paid administrative leave immediately. They won't have to come to the office anymore, and their email access will be suspended. Also by 5 p.m. tonight, all DEI websites and social media accounts related to the federal government must be taken down. And by next Friday, federal agencies must submit a written plan outlining how they plan to fire employees who are part of DEI offices and programs.
I mean, you know, if it's going to save some money, I don't know. Like, we got a business guy in office. Why is he doing that? Know what I mean? It is time to question why.
Overall, good or bad for the federal government and its employees?
I think bad. You know, there's value to DEI initiatives and having that. And being at the federal level, I think it's very important to have. It honestly serves as a model of how a lot of organizations should run. And so to not have that, I think that's just going to trickle down to other areas.
Yeah, so what's still unclear is how many federal workers could be impacted by this. Here in the DMV, about 400,000 residents work for the federal government, so there is a big chance that some of our neighbors could be impacted.
And thank you. And now coming up after the break, we'll talk about a new Anne Frank exhibit set to open, 2 concerts coming up in Huntsville you might want to check out, and a story you're just not going to want to miss. It is all ahead. I'll see you in 1 minute. Well, hello and welcome back to Before the Four. For the first time, we're getting a look at a new exhibit opening in New York City, recreating the secret hiding place where Anne Frank hid from the Nazis. The exhibit will open Monday, marking International Holocaust Remembrance Day and the Day of Liberation at the Auschwitz concentration camp. Erica Byfield explains the lessons organizers hope visitors take away from the space. Check it out.
Since 1947, Anne Frank's A Diary of a Young Girl has helped the world understand what it was like to hide amid Nazi persecution during World War II. And now the secret annex where she lived in Amsterdam has been recreated here in New York City, part of a powerful and immersive exhibition at the Center for Jewish History.
An exhibition like this really serves as, I think, a powerful reminder of the importance of confronting hate.
The exhibition includes 100 original artifacts, many never seen before publicly, like the books she and her sister read, the Monopoly game they played, and their father's desk, chair, and trunk. Everything here to coincide with International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It opens to the public on Monday.
It's a beacon of awareness.
For 2 years behind the bookshelf, the Frank family hid with the Van Pell family and Fritz Pfeffer. You can see the dishes that they used, family photos that they displayed, and other prized possessions like Anne's kindergarten class photo. Up until now, all of this was in the Netherlands that only visitors to the Anne Frank house got to see. It is here to remind us of the past and to tell us to think about the future.
We don't just preserve Jewish history, we mobilize it to address today's challenges.
This annex is an exact replica of what you would see in Amsterdam, down to the stain in the sink. The only difference is here, this space is furnished. There it's not.
The exhibition will be free for New York public school children to visit. They'll get to see this video to set the tone. Then they'll walk the path that shows where the death camps were, like the one that stole Anne Frank's life. Only her father survived the concentration camp, later publishing her diary. The exhibit will be open into April.
Today, as we stand in the presence of Anne's legacy, we are reminded of our shared responsibility.
Erica Byfield, News 4, New York.
Awesome exhibit coming to New York City this Monday. But if you're looking for something fun to do this weekend and maybe take a trip back in time to the 60s, you're going to want to take a trip out to the BBC Saturday to catch the Black Jacket Symphony performing the Beatles' Abbey Road along with other greatest Beatles hits. Today I got a chance to speak with Black Jacket Symphony director Mr. Jason Rogoff and take a listen to some of what he had to say about Saturday's performances. A little about this performance. I know the symphony band will be performing Abbey Road along with other Beatles hits, of course, but what all can we expect to hear this weekend?
Yeah, so you're going to hear a lot of Beatles. We recreate these classic rock albums note for note, sound for sound. It is a full rock band. So everything that you would be hearing if you turned on the Beatles' Abbey Road, you'll hear it live on stage. Then we'll take a short break, come back and do a full set of greatest hits by the Beatles. So, and that'll be, they'll span back to their early stuff and onward. So it's a lot of fun. Very big production, lots of video, lots of lighting, yeah, it's a great show.
Very exciting stuff. And just describe the music and the sounds from Abbey Road as an album. What all different instruments can we expect to see included in Saturday's performance?
Yeah, great question. So, the obvious guitars, you have bass, drums, lots of vocals. There's a lot of strings on a few songs. There's even some horns that make an appearance. So, all of those and keys, all of those will be prominent on stage.
Exciting stuff. Gotta love the Beatles, that is for sure. So, yep, that event is going on this weekend. You can watch that full 48 Now interview with Jason on our website right now. Just go to WAFF.com, digital shows, and 48 Now for the full details. But staying on the topic of music, country star Nico Moon is coming to Huntsville next Thursday to the Mars Music Hall, and he's just trying to catch a good time. That is for sure. I spoke with him today, and take a listen. 2 EPs recently dropped. These Are the Days and These Are the Nights. Talk a little bit about what inspired those projects.
I'm a simple guy, and the way I like to enjoy myself is getting out by the water or getting around some fire. And so there's where these 2 EPs take you to, either waterside or fireside. And that's exactly where the show's going to take us as well, y'all. We're just going to have a nice relaxing time and take a little vacation by the water.
Nico, talk a little bit about growing up. I understand you were born in Texas, but you moved to Georgia, I believe at the age of 10, Douglasville, Georgia.
Yep.
What was it like for you growing up there in the 90s and early 2000s?
Man, it was awesome because, the Braves were going from worst to first back then. And so as a kid growing up, I was a huge Braves fan. And growing up about 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, which is where Douglasville is, I was in the country. And so I was listening to a lot of Travis Tritt, who's from Noonan, Georgia. And Travis Tritt, who's from Hiram, Georgia. And Alan Jackson, who's from Noonan, Georgia. But I was also listening to like Outkast and T.I. and all these artists that were coming out of Atlanta, I was just listening to the music that I was around. And for me, I loved Alan and Travis because they were telling my life story when I looked out and I looked around in my environment. But I love the way that Outkast and T.I. and all these hip hop groups out of Atlanta, I love the way their bass and drum sound. They were just hit so hard in my little truck, And I always just told myself, if I can make my own music one day, I want to make country music, but I want it to hit hard, man. I want it to smack those speakers in the truck, make those truck windows shake.
Awesome interview today with Nico Moon from Douglasville, Georgia. And let me tell you, I know quite a bit about Douglasville growing up in that area as well. So we had an awesome conversation today, but you're just not going to want to miss his concert at Mars Music Hall next Thursday. Nico Moon, These Are the Nights tour. And that full interview has not quite been published just yet. It was a later interview, but stay tuned. We'll have that on our website either today or tomorrow at the latest. But awesome time today. But now, what started as a hobby has grown into a nonprofit organization in Maine. One family has taken it upon themselves to help rebuild the deer population there. Feeding hundreds of animals isn't cheap, But as Alyssa Thurlow tells us, it brings joy not only to the family, but to hundreds of thousands of people across the world. Take a look.
Good morning, guys. They hear that clanging of the silo. Even the sound of the machine, they know it's breakfast time.
Welcome to a typical January morning for the McMahon family of Brownville. They're in their 16th season feeding deer to help restore herd numbers in the Piscataquis County area.
We're pushing 1,200 pounds in this machine going down.
Last season, they dished out 28 tons of oats in 84 days on their 12-acre property.
We try to get around 5 pounds per deer. That's what the biologists recommend, 3 to 5 pounds to sustain their health.
In addition to local Maine oats, the deer also enjoy a diet of acorns and apples.
We go through 3 bushels.
Each morning around 9 a.m., you can find hungry herds waiting for their meal. Their movements are all captured on live stream and broadcast online.
We usually put all the good stuffs in troughs 1 and 8, and it gives the viewers the best crunching sensation. A lot of people love to hear the crunch. We put the acorns and stuff in those troughs also.
Each day, thousands of people across the world tune in to see the deer and other critters on the Brownville's Food Pantry for Deer YouTube page. The page has 134,000 subscribers and growing.
It's therapeutic to a lot of people, and we love reading the comments, and it's just a lot better aspect for people to watch because it feels like you're really there. The clarity of it is incredible.
Monitoring the 5 cameras upstairs is Brownville's Food Pantry for Deer founder Richard McMahon.
I never would have dreamed it would get this big. Everybody seems to enjoy it. I think just because it's basic nature. It's back to nature as close as you can get.
Feeding the deer, he says, is his calling. He fell in love with it as a 7-year-old kid in New York.
We used to put quarters in a little machine and get a whole handful of peanuts to feed the deer. I grew up on deer meat when I was a kid. Back in the 50s, this was pretty common here. But now I've changed. Instead of eating them, I feed them.
He's still at it 71 years later.
I feel good when I see all these creatures leave in the spring all fat and sassy and happy.
Keeping them happy and fed takes a lot of time and money. Right now, they're feeding approximately 700 pounds of oats daily to 150 to 200 deer. That adds up quickly. The McMahons say it costs up to $20,000 a year just for feed. To help with costs, they've started a GoFundMe. All donations directly fund the purchase of feed and essential supplies.
We appreciate every penny that comes in because it helps these guys make it through the winter.
Alyssa Thurlow, WABI News, Brownville.
How cute and how sweet. That is such an awesome story. And I just love all those little close-up shots of those deer there. They are just so adorable, but awesome story there. And now let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. What's new coming to Toyota Field in the 2025 Trash Panda season, and following up on the uptick in vehicle thefts going on in the Shoals. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And it's that time. Let me tell you, it is that time. Our 48 Facebook question of the day. What is your go-to coffee order? That is what I want to know. Me personally, I very rarely drink coffee. I am definitely more of an energy drink guy, like Red Bull, Celsius. I know it's bad. I have gotten just about every single lecture that you can get from my mother, who tells me that the stuff's going to kill me. Moderation, definitely. Consume your caffeine in moderation, and I need to practice what I preach, I think. But let's see, what is your go-to coffee order? That is what I want to know. Ronnie, he said hot and black. Yeah, I just can't do that. I think, honestly, I like my coffee the opposite of hot and black. I like it cold and white. But Ronnie, more power to you. If you're able to drink black coffee, that is very impressive, Ronnie. Thank you so much for commenting. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see what else you all had to say. Anne said tall hot chocolate, extra whip. Sorry, I don't like coffee. I'm a little bit more on Ann's side than I was on Ronnie's side. I definitely can drink some hot cocoa, but I don't mind coffee. Coffee's good if you have enough cream and sugar in there. But Ann, thank you so much for commenting. Kelly, she said iced mocha latte from Dunkin'. Cannot go wrong with that. Gotta love that iced coffee. It's sweet. It's a chocolatey flavor. Got to love that. And Dunkin' typically does have some pretty good coffee. Kelly, thank you so much for commenting. Shane said Mountain Dew. That is right. That good old Mountain Dew. You gotta love it. Yeah, I'm kind of on Shane's side a little bit as well. Sometimes I would prefer a Mountain Dew over like a cup of coffee. But Shane, thank you so much for commenting. And then Mike said vanilla latte from McDonald's when they have them. Cannot go wrong with that. I believe that is what my girlfriend Jamie, that is her go-to coffee order. She's always getting the vanilla latte, and the iced one at that, I believe. Hopefully I'm right about that. But Mike, thank you so much for commenting. Cannot go wrong with a good old vanilla latte, that is for sure. Well, y'all, that is just about all she wrote for today's Before the Four. But I want to thank you all for sticking around and spending a bit of your Wednesday afternoon here. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download the 48 Digital app, the First Alert Weather app, and the 48 Sport Zone app. Turn on those push notifications and you will never miss a breaking news story. But with that said, that's all I have for today. But of course, thank you for watching and you all have a great night.